Tottenham versus Liverpool.
5 games off this weekend. 5 games remain. One of those 5 is a massive one between Spurs and Liverpool. We'd love you to be a part of the show. Get involved. Hashtag Weekend Warm Up is the one. We'll go through some of your social media later on. Guys, it's a juicy game for the neutral. New manager, old manager, side very much in form. Both sides very much in form, Don. How do you see this one playing?
Do you know what? I think you could take both managers out of this and replace some of the managers from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 20 years in the future. This game always sort of delivers. It's got one of them feels about it. It's Tottenham Hotspur against Liverpool. Both teams always try to play the right way, so you get a good standard of game. The standard, obviously, of the players is elite. So these games normally, from my recollection, are never dull. They're always good games to watch.
Well, Spurs haven't played in about a million years, have they?
Definitely a million.
Just using your word.
Yeah.
Well, it's the 5th of December, so they've missed 3 games since the 5th of December. Is it really the ideal game to come back to play Liverpool? Or do you see it as a positive or a negative? Because they've had some time to rest, they've had time with the manager, but they're playing Liverpool.
I see it as a positive, Seema, because I just think the type of manager that Antonio Conte is, he would have used that time wisely. And when he took over, you could see the frustration on his face from some of the things that were happening on the pitch, especially in Europe. There was a game in Europe where they were just all over the place. So he's taken the time, and I'd like to see what the results of that time is, because I think they'll be positive. And Don's right, you know, under Pochettino, I always felt that Tottenham would give Liverpool a game. That hasn't happened since Pochettino's left, let's be honest. But I do feel that tactically that this guy will give Liverpool a challenge. And I also feel that it'll give him time to get to know the players, how to get the best out of some of the players. Obviously, notably, you know, Harry Kane still hasn't scored in the Premier League under Antonio Conte. Now, he needs to get him right. And sometimes it's not on the training ground when you get players right. It's away from the training ground. So he would have maybe had that time just to maybe, you know, understand how he can get the best out of certain players. Obviously, the obvious one being Harry Kane.
Just to reinforce the point that Leroy is making about Tottenham's recent record against Liverpool, the last 6 results in the Premier League look a little bit like this, and if you are a Lily White, it's not great. A big 6 losses.
Do you want to start that one again?
What's that?
When you say Tottenham are going to give Liverpool a good game?
No, I think but I said since Pochettino, I don't think they have.
No.
You know, but every time, and look, they might have still lost under Pochettino, but there were some great games and some really competitive games. And I just think now, under Conte, look, Liverpool have been terrific in that period, but I just think Spurs have dropped a couple of levels. So I honestly feel that this will be a real test for Liverpool.
Can you also throw in a Champions League defeat as well, just to add a little bit of salt in the way? It's not enough.
But actually, just to pick on Leroy's point, I mean, it's huge incentive for Spurs in this game, because if you look at the league table with the 3 games in hand, if they were to win those 3 games, they're up there in 4th.
Yeah, the table's a little bit distorted at the moment. I mean, I remember this time last year when Everton seemed to have 2 games in hand forever, and they couldn't win the 2 games in hand.
The season ended, they still had the 2 games in hand.
Exactly, it was one of them, and they could just never get it going. So I like where Spurs are at in terms of the league table, but even more so with games in hand. The only caveat to that is, I can remember being in the Championship with Sheffield United, and we had lots of international players. We had Welsh, Scottish, Russian players. So every other game, it felt as though our games were getting called off. And we were playing so many games in the Championship. We got to about the end of the season, and we were, league table-wise, sitting just above sort of middle. But we had about 6 or 7 games in hand. If we won them all, we would have went sort of second top. We never won them all. You can't. It's impossible. So it's one of them where if you're a Tottenham fan, you look at it and you're looking up. Why wouldn't you look up? You look at the games in hand and go, if we win them, we're comfortably in 4th. So it's getting the wins on the table. But at the same time, I do feel as though the league table is just a little bit off and a little bit distorted because of some teams having games in hand.
So there was a game in the Premier League last night. Going into it, the team that was second top faced the team that was second bottom at Anfield. Liverpool against Newcastle. And Leroy, it was a shock opener for Liverpool. John Joe Shelby, what a strike.
What a strike. Lovely pass from Thiago straight into his path.
Great assist, wasn't it?
It's a lovely assist from Thiago. But you just felt that this goal came a little bit too early, you know, at Anfield. For Newcastle. Look, it was a surprise. Great finish for John Joe Shelby going back to Anfield where he didn't have the best of times. Felt that when he played at Anfield, it was just a bit too much for him. But Liverpool came back and got back into the game, and this was controversial. You know,
I think the referee, as the ball goes away from Newcastle's goal, that's when Mike Dean could have blew his whistle. At this point now, you can't.
No, he can't. As soon as he gets around the box, you know, otherwise you set a really difficult precedent, you know, that, you know, will players go down? Do you stop the game when the ball's about to come into the box? So, look, that's when he needs to blow his whistle. He doesn't there. And you are concerned about the player, but look, Liverpool are professional, it has to be said, and they stick the ball in the back of the net.
So do you think Liverpool were lucky to equalise really there, getting the goal?
I think so, Seams. I can side either way. If I'm Liverpool, I'm not playing on. You know, I'm ruthless. I want to win the game. I want to get back into it. But Eddie Howe's men, excuse me, they went away to Anfield, hard place to go. You see City putting 7 past Leeds. You're thinking it might be the same sort of number. You start well, you score, you've got something to hang on to. That was the most important moment in the game.
Yeah.
If they try and see it through for another 10 minutes, get to half-time, they might be able to try and salvage something and try and hang on to a 1-0 win, or even, you know, try and get a 1-1 or something. But the fact that they give that controversial goal away, then the game just sort of went away from them. And then a couple of mistakes later, one mistake later from John Joe Shelvey, they're 2-1 behind. But that was the moment, because we've all been there. You know, you side on whatever team you're playing on. If you're Newcastle, you're thinking, how's our luck?
Yeah.
If you're Liverpool, you're like, we do what we do.
And you're right, Don, because they'll be feeling fragile from the week before. We'll have a penalty, which is disputable against Leicester. And all of a sudden, you saw what happened there. They capitulated. You know, for Newcastle, in terms of their confidence being fragile at Anfield, Don's right. You know, you hold on until the end of the first half, and you're going 1-0. You regroup, maybe change the tactics. You've got an opportunity. But as soon as that goal went in, you knew they were up against it.
Yeah, and the next goal that went in was from Mo Salah. I mean, who else would it be? And this was a milestone for him because he's now equalled Jamie Vardy's record of contributing to a goal in 15 consecutive Premier League games.
Well, I mean, listen, the rest is history, seems, when you see that ball land to Mo Salah in the 18-yard box. I mean, listen, I'm no manager. I never want to be a manager. But I can tell you now that Joe Linton is not a number 6. And he played the ball with so much pace into John Joe Shelvey, who didn't expect it, didn't want it. He was 4 yards away. John Joe Shelvey then done the worst thing you can do as a midfield player, and he gambled, and he played the ball blind back towards his centre-half when he had no idea where everyone was. If the ball was better to him, maybe John Joe Shelvey could have tried a trick, he could have tried his strength, he could have bought a foul. As soon as it goes 2-1 up, like Leroy said, 1-1 was the killer, but 2-1 before half-time. At the Kop end second half, there's no way back.
And that goal last night for Mo Salah puts him joint top with Jamie Vardy, that blistering season that he had of 15 consecutive matches with a Premier League goal involvement. I mean, I suppose, Leroy, the only question to ask is, imagine if he was the 6th best player in the world, how high would he be?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm glad you put it that way as well, because we all know that's ridiculous, JJ, in all honesty. At the moment, I don't think there's anybody better than Mo Salah at this moment in time.
The Ballon d'Or is becoming a little bit, it's got no credibility anymore. It's not. When you see Mo Salah, and everyone who watches football around the world knows he's in the conversation. If you don't think he's better than Messi or Ronaldo or Mbappe, he's in the conversation for being top 3 at least. He's the best in the world, in my opinion. Now he's not even, what was he, 7th?
7th.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Is there a better player in the world at the moment?
No, there isn't. No, at the moment. Every single club in the world will put him at number 1, at the top of the tree, and he is, and he shows it. And it's not just the way he plays; it's the way he scores. Guys, it's not just that, not just the involvement, it's not just the goals. It's some of the goals he scored are iconic. You know, when you talk about iconic goals, when he disappears, when he moves on, you look back and you say he scores some of the best goals that have ever been seen in the Premier League.
And if every club in the world would put him in as number 1, who do they put in as number 2? Might it be Liverpool's fullback, if you see what I did there?
Yeah,
that's exactly what you did.
You had me
there,
worried
Jay.
for a second, I'm thinking, who's you talking about? No, listen, I mean, Trent. I mean, listen, I'm quite prolific on social media with the Trent love, because I just think he's amazing. I mean, this technique is a central midfield player's technique. It's an incredible strike. He gets his goals, he gets assists. You know, he's a wonderful player. He's got brilliant temperament. And I get, you know, if there's people out there who think João Cancelo's the best in the world, if they think Reece James is the best in the world, we're blessed with some unbelievable fullbacks in the Premier League. And in my opinion, I think this guy's... And I'm not saying he's a distance ahead of Reece James. That would be far-fetched. I'm not saying he's a distance ahead of João Cancelo. But if you're saying to me you can pick 1 out of the 3, who you're taking, I would just lean for Trent.
I know what you're... Sorry, go on, Steve.
No, and also, just to back that up, the chances created, 47, that's more than any other player in the league. That tells you everything you need to know.
His numbers are sort of like De Bruyne's numbers, number 10's numbers.
But the numbers are impressive. But you know, when you talk about obviously Cancelo outstanding, James outstanding, the reason why I would put him top isn't because he's the best defender out of all of them. I don't think he is. He's most probably 3rd best. It's because when you watch him play, at any given moment, he's going to do something that no one else can do on a pitch, on a football pitch, and he's going to surprise you. And there's going to be... There are players, you know, when we used to go in training, you play with certain players and you just like stand back and just start applauding. Yeah, he's good, he's really good. That's what he is. Now, James is great, Cancelo is great, but this guy does things that are unbelievable. And put aside his defending, yeah, he's a poor defender, but he does things that no one else can do. And I think that's the definition of world class. Not the stats. Don't compare stats. Don't compare whether you can defend. Don't compare the crosses that come in the box, because it depends who's getting on the end of them as well. But this guy just does things that I've never seen another fullback do. And that's why he's super, super special.
And I think he does it regularly. And I can remember when he broke onto the scene, Don, it seems as though he's got better and better every season. Now, he had that little bit of a blip in and around when he had COVID. Yeah. It seemed to have taken a little while to get out of his system.
I think he had a little wobble with Jurgen Klopp as well, and them had a little argument. And there was no fans in the stadium, and he turned around and being a youngster, as youngsters do, because sometimes we're a bit immature and it's all about us. And the boss was telling him things, and he had a little bit of a language towards the gaffer. But you see after the game, and you see how much respect Jurgen Klopp's got for him, because he knows he's got a gem. This guy's a diamond. What is he, 23?
He's so young,
Incredible.
isn't he?
He plays week in, week out.
If you try and look at those numbers, 23, and you go, what is he, 6 years away from his prime? With these numbers? It's unreal.
I mean, he has a positional move in him as well, by the way, that he can still go and play further forward. We don't even know if we've seen the best of him, Leroy. That might be the most worrying thing.
He's like a vintage. Well, he'll get better with age, and he'll change his position, and he might lose his pace, but he'll do something. He'll just get better and better.
You see if he ever loses that half a yard, million years down the line, you know he's got beautiful technique.
Exactly.
So he's still got a wand.
Just to wrap this Liverpool chat up, are they the best team in the league right now?
Ooh. Go on, Seams. Merry Christmas to you.
I thought I'd just throw a really nice one in there.
Do you know what? On performance, you said team. I think Man City are the best team.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool have got the best individuals right
See,
now.
I don't.
I said Man City are the best team. The Man City team performances have been out of this world. And I think at times Liverpool's team performance has been a bit shaky.
Yeah.
So I would say that Liverpool got the best individuals. Salah, Trent, doing unbelievable things. But I think Man City are the best team.
I think Man City have got the best squad.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool have got the best 11.
Well, love it. No doubt we'll revisit this a bit later on.
We could come back to that.
Liverpool are in red-hot form, and if they want that streak to continue, they'll have to get past this man. Well, as we said, Antonio Conte's had some time to work with his players over the last 3 weeks. So what can we expect in terms of the team shape, especially when we look at them going forward? Yeah,
look, it's a really good question, Sim. And we all know that Antonio Conte made his name at Chelsea playing that 3-4-3 formation.
Yeah.
But it was all about the front three, Don. And we've got some clips here that kind of show that. And you see, we're not going to move it for yet, and you can see the back three in place here. But what we want to concentrate on is these three. It's Kane, Son and Moura. And how the change of shape in terms of the influence of the wing-backs, these guys in the wide areas, has helped them going forward, though.
Well, yeah, when you probably look at what Antonio Conte has done, he's got them a little bit more narrow. And I would say that three that you've mentioned in that sort of area there, I think he's got them a little bit more closer together. I think when you're trying to bounce balls into Harry Kane, he wants players like Son and Moura to use their pace, getting close to him. But I think that's the main difference. He tries to offer a little bit of width for the full-back, so he wants them quite high up on the pitch. Playing against Norwich, so they're a little bit more defensive than a team that's going to be aggressive and play against them. So Norwich are offering the Tottenham maybe to go down into wide areas and say, well, listen, if you're going to get down these areas here and you're going to get down there, it might not be the end of the world. So we'll try and offer you players to be narrow, but I think they're doing it well under him. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and it's key that they play. He wants to put them playing closer together. You see the little triangles that are appearing between the three of them, and they're not really coming out of those areas. So he's trying to develop a relationship between them. We all know that the relationship between Son and Kane is really good. I'm just going to pause it here now. You see the three of them, out of possession, and I think that was the problem with Nuno. In and out of possession. That picture didn't really change that much, Don, because they were so defensive under Nuno.
But that's a huge space to work in on the counter, isn't it? When you see centre backs, and Moura could quite easily go high up there, and Kane could quite easily go high up there. But you're relying on then a ball straight into your feet. Yeah. Whereas you get Lucas Moura, I think, and you get Moura driving with the ball that way and running at people. That's his game. Yeah. Harry Kane's intelligent. He can drop into that 10 position and get on the half turn. Look. See the body shape. Let me take that back very quickly, Lee. The body shape there of Son and Harry Kane especially. The two players, once that ball goes into Son, there's no thought of Son then coming back into that area. They both want to take it on the back foot. Look at him and Kane. Yeah. Same sort of movement. Both side on. Wanting to play forward, wanting to run forward.
Absolutely, Don. I'll just make the point that, for centre forwards, that's a great position to be in. You pointed out that space in there. but do you want your front players to be? Because that's where it's going to drop. And when you get possession, it makes it very difficult for these guys then to go and get tight, because you've got the space has already been created.
They'll probably go the other way. They'll probably back off.
Exactly. They're going to go back. They're going to back off. Now, watch the team shape. Watch this guy out here, Emerson, now be able to catch up with the play as well. And I just think that now, see, they're actually coming closer together, and they've now created this space down here. Whereas I think Nuno would want Moura or Son to come out into those wide areas. And what happened then was Tottenham got very negative, because what you get is this guy just always supporting the play on both sides of the pitch.
It's incredible how many Norwich players there are all in that sort of quite central area.
Yeah,
and
just by those
compact.
three being compact and coming together. So that's one thing I think he's changed about them. And I think that's why, you know, Moura, Kane and Son would be the ones that he seems to have picked every single week.
You get the feeling, Lee, this is going to take a little bit of time on the training ground, and with Tottenham having those 3 games in hand, you'd like to think that might benefit the players and the manager.
But do you know what? I like it. I think it's got the makings of something brilliant. Look, they're all top players. I'm really pleased that Lucas Moura has been a part of that, because I always felt he's been left out because of the likes of Son and Kane. But he's got so much potential, and I think he's recognised that, Conte.
He's addressed something at the top end of the pitch, but they've managed to collect 10 points out of a possible 12. So people talk about a bounce. I think he's gone beyond that. Don, what else has he done?
Well, I think for someone like Davinson Sanchez as well, we all know from Ajax, fantastic player, very raw, and sometimes with young players, you've got to allow them to make mistakes. When you make them in the Premier League, it's high profile, and you can quite easily, as a young player, get a little bit snowed under and think, oh, it's all on me, I'm not playing well, I'm not training well. When the manager gives me a chance, you know, he had 3 different managers in the space of half a season, that he's going through different thought process and different styles. So I think you can see when Antonio Conte has first come in, he wants solidity at the back. The next thing is, can he get Oliver Skipp or Højbjerg into being creative midfield players? Traditionally, that's not their style, that's not their game, but you can still build from a solid base. 3 at the back, you've got wing backs who can go up and down, 2 really dependable midfield players. Then you've got the threats of the boys going forward.
I think you made a really good point about Davinson Sanchez, because I watched him in the Europa Conference game. He had an absolute stinker. And you were thinking, no, I'm not sure this guy's going to play anymore. But you look back on Conte's record, he's got a record of not... People think, oh, he just buys success. He's got players and he's improved. And Lukaku, look what he did with Lukaku at Inter. You know, he went there for obviously big money, but he still improved him as a player. Sanchez then played the next game, and he's kept his place. There was an injury to the centre half, so that was a problem. But I really do think that he sees the best in people. And I think this is what these Tottenham players need. Before they introduce new players, they do need new players, but they need to get back up to a level where they have been way below for too long.
So you said Lukaku there. You know, I was thinking of Victor Moses.
Yeah.
Another player, out of position, played him. This is your spot. You're not a winger anymore. You're a wing back. You're going to excel in this position.
Best wing back in the league.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's what I'm saying.
And also, I mean, if you remember the last game they played, the post-match interview with Reguilon, do you remember it? He was out of breath, and he was like, you know what? He has worked us so hard. And that's what Conte does, and that's what they've needed. We mentioned earlier where they are in the league table. So Tottenham are 4 points off of Arsenal. And so if they win their 3 games in hand, they're able to really be up there. But it's just a case of whether they can win those games in hand.
Yeah, and again, you know, the important thing, I know Spurs fans say, yeah, we've got to win those games. I'm not sure it is. I think it's about embedding what he wants in the team long term. And so that's what you'll be looking at. I mean, the Liverpool game is a massive game.
I hope this one goes ahead, because this will give us a great feel of where Antonio Conte's Tottenham are playing Liverpool. Because you can beat Leeds, you can beat Brentford, you can beat Norwich. When you play Liverpool's and Cities and the big boys, that's when you think, and you'll see, right, they're not quite there. They've got a lot of work to do if they get a pace in. If they get a good result and a positive one, and Kane plays well and Son plays well and defenders defend well, you go, that's all the things I'm seeing that he's been working on the training ground. So this is if it goes ahead, it's a great test.
OK, at the Tottenham Stadium, what's the score going to be?
Tottenham Stadium, 2-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool.
Oh,
so a little bit more work to do for Conte then.
Yeah, a little bit more work. It's not easy. It's not easy being the boss.